What if falling asleep at your desk didn't end your career, but changed an entire company? This isn't fiction. It happened at Tesla. One exhausted software engineer, Ethan Cole, passed out face first on his keyboard after working 72 hours straight on a life-saving self-driving feature. Everyone in the office thought it was over for him, his career, his reputation, everything. Then Elon Musk walked in. What happened next didn't just shock the team, it stunned the entire organization. No one expected Elon's reaction. Not the engineers, not the executives, not even Ethan. And what followed became one of the most unexpected turning points in Tesla's history. A story that redefined leadership, shattered toxic work culture, and launched a quiet revolution from the unlikeliest place of all, a silent, exhausted moment of collapse. Stay with us because once you hear what Elon said and what Ethan did next, you'll understand why this story isn't just about Tesla. It's about every workplace, every employee, and maybe even you. Ready? Let's begin. At 2:43 a.m., the only sounds in Tesla's Austin software division were the faint hum of monitors and the quiet tapping of a single keyboard. Ethan Cole was still there. The emergency lights outside the building pulsed softly against the tinted windows. Inside, Ethan leaned over his screen, eyes red, body trembling slightly from caffeine and adrenaline. He hadn't slept in nearly 3 days. He couldn't. Not until the emergency vehicle detection algorithm was perfected. Not until the system could reliably identify an ambulance in the dead of night, in the rain, at 70 miles per hour. Because for him, this wasn't just code, it was personal. His cousin Emily had almost died 2 years ago because a driver didn't notice flashing lights behind him. The car never moved over. The ambulance swerved, lost traction, and flipped. She survived, but her legs never worked the same way again. Since then, Ethan hadn't just wanted to work at Tesla. He had to. He had to be the one who fixed this. A soft notification pinged from his laptop. Rachel Monroe, team lead. Progress update? He typed quickly, fingers clumsy. Ethan Cole, almost there. Simulation holding at 97.6% accuracy in dynamic lighting, pushing for 99 before 8 a.m. 3 dots. Then her response. Rachel. Ethan, please sleep after that. That's not a request. He didn't reply. What was the point? A voice broke the silence. You look like death, man. Ethan turned. Jordan Brooks, his closest friend at Tesla, stood with a steaming cup of black coffee and worry etched into his face. I've seen zombies in better shape than you, Jordan added, sliding into the empty chair beside him. I'm fine, Ethan lied. No, you're not. That's your 4th Red Rain can today. Faintly embarrassed, Ethan glanced at the scattered cans around his desk, some upright, others toppled like spent artillery shells. He hadn't even noticed how many had piled up. Jordan leaned in. You're brilliant, but if you don't stop, your body will. Ethan sighed. The deadline's not moving. If this system can't see emergency lights through fog and glare, it doesn't go live. And if it doesn't go live, he trailed off, staring at the string of code on his screen. I know, Jordan said quietly. I know about Emily. Ethan blinked. How? She visited. You showed me the scar on her leg. You just don't talk about it. The screen flickered. Another successful simulation. Ethan leaned back, finally allowing himself to breathe. He didn't notice Rachel passing by and pausing at a distance, watching the exhaustion etched across his face. The hours melted. 4:15 a.m., 5:30, 6:20. At 7:08, Rachel returned. Ethan, the demo's at 10. I want you to present, then go home. He gave a half nod, but she could tell. He wasn't listening. By 8:15, the office was waking up. Keyboards clicked, coffee brewed, new shirts, fresh faces, and one lone warrior in a crumpled hoodie still typing. At 8:42, it happened. Ethan's head slowly drooped forward. His fingers missed a key. His eyelids collapsed like shutters drawn tight. And without a single warning, he passed out, face down on his keyboard, asleep, unmoving. The screen displayed a string of gibberish. His last typed line had turned into int detect ambulance. Jordan was the first to notice. He rushed over. Ethan? No response. He shook him, Harder. Come on, man. Wake up. Rachel joined seconds later. How long's he been like this? 10 minutes. Maybe more. We've got the entire engineering leadership in the conference room in an hour, she muttered, panic creeping into her voice. He's presenting. Then came the whisper. The two words no one wanted to hear today. Elon's coming. The energy of the room changed instantly. Across the floor, engineers sat up straighter. Screens switched from Reddit threads to system diagnostics. Coffee cups vanished. Jokes died on tongues. Elon Musk is doing a floor walk, someone confirmed. Rachel froze. No, not today. Not right now. Sophie Kim, their UX lead, ducked into the break room and returned with a wet towel. They tried everything. Water, shaking, fresh espresso fumes under his nose. Nothing worked. He was gone, into the deep, heavy sleep of someone whose body had finally won the war over his mind. He needs medical attention, Sophie whispered. No, Rachel replied. He needs rest. We pushed him too hard. From the hallway, voices approached. Heavy footsteps, laughter, then silence. Elon Musk had entered the software wing. Rachel looked at Jordan. Stall them. He didn't move. Me? Now! Jordan scrambled toward the voices, intercepting a VP mid-sentence, hoping to slow the procession. But Elon was already moving forward, fast, focused. Rachel turned back to Ethan. She gently pulled her jacket over his shoulders, as if that could hide what they all knew was coming. Then came the voice, calm, direct, and unmistakable. I want to see the progress on the emergency vehicle detection system. Rachel stood. That's Ethan's code. And where is Ethan? Rachel hesitated, then moved aside. Elon Musk stepped forward. He saw the scene in a second. The slumped figure, the keyboard imprint on Ethan's cheek, the fortress of empty cans, the success message glowing green on his monitor. The room was silent. People held their breath. Elon stared at Ethan, expression unreadable. Then he sat down, in Ethan's chair, and without saying a word, he began scrolling through the code. Rachel couldn't breathe. Elon, a VP ventured, unsure whether to interrupt. Reschedule the meeting, Elon said. But sir, the production heads. I said reschedule. Gasps rippled through the room. For 5 minutes, Elon examined every line of code. Occasionally, he asked a quiet question. Rachel answered in a whisper. This is elegant, he said finally, pointing to a section. Light refraction under multi-signal interference, Rachel replied. Ethan cracked it last night. Elon leaned back, eyes on the sleeping engineer. You said he's been working for 3 weeks nonstop. And the last 72 hours? No breaks. Elon stood, then turned to the room. What you're seeing, he said, is not a weak employee. He paused, letting the words sink in. This is what burnout looks like. Not in theory, in front of you. Right here. No one moved. He looked down at Ethan again. This isn't his failure, Elon said. It's ours. And with that, he quietly turned and left. Everyone stood frozen, unsure whether they had just witnessed a miracle or a catastrophe. Rachel glanced at Ethan, still asleep, still unaware that everything had just changed. And tomorrow, when he woke up, his world would never be the same. What would you have done if you were Ethan's teammate in that moment? Do you think Elon's reaction was the right one, or just good PR? Tell us in the comments. In this moment, when Ethan Cole finally opened his eyes, the fluorescent lights above buzzed like angry bees. His back ached, his neck throbbed. His cheek was still pressed awkwardly to the keyboard, with the distinct imprint of a spacebar running across his face. He blinked, confused, then sat up, slowly, groggily. Why is everyone staring at me? He mumbled, voice gravelly. Jordan Brooks was right beside him, leaning on the edge of the desk with a look that danced between concern and disbelief. You've been out cold for almost an hour, Jordan said. You missed the meeting. Ethan sat up straighter. What? No, relax, Jordan cut in. The meeting got postponed. Ethan's foggy mind tried to process what that meant. Around him, whispers still floated like smoke through the air. People glanced at him, then quickly looked away. Others just kept watching. Phones were out, faces pale, and everything felt too quiet for a company that thrived on chaos. "What happened?" Ethan asked again, panic rising in his chest. "Did I screw something up? Did the system crash? Is it—" Rachel Monroe appeared next to him, cutting him off. "Ethan," she said, her voice low, calm but carrying a strange weight, "you're not fired." He stared at her, completely still. "Wait, what?" She pulled out the empty red rain can from his desk and shook it gently. "You passed out. Elon Musk saw you, sitting right here, like this." Ethan's heart dropped like an anchor. "He saw me sleeping at my desk?" "Yes. And I'm not fired?" Rachel exhaled, then sat on the edge of his desk. "Not even close." Jordan leaned in. "Elon sat in your chair. He read through your code, and then, get this, he canceled his own meeting with production leads. He said it was more important to study your work," Rachel added. Ethan froze, eyes wide. "This is a joke, right? You're messing with me." "No, man," Jordan said. "He actually defended you, told everyone this wasn't your failure, said it was ours." Ethan stared at them both, dazed. "He said that?" Rachel nodded. "Verbatim. Then he left. No explosion. No lecture. Just silence. Like he was thinking about something way deeper than code." Ethan put his hands over his face. "I can't believe this. I don't even remember falling asleep." Rachel crouched to his level. "He wants to see you tomorrow, 2 p.m. in his office. You, alone." Ethan pulled his hands away slowly. "Am I walking into a thank you or a trap?" "No one knows," Jordan said. "But I'll say this. Whatever happened in that moment shifted something. People are actually talking about work-life balance now. Here, at Tesla." Sophie Kim leaned over from her desk. "And the sleeping photo of you? It's everywhere. I've already seen 6 different memes." Ethan groaned. "Great." She held up her phone. "My favorite. When you run out of battery before the car does." Laughter scattered across the room, but it wasn't mean-spirited. If anything, it was oddly affectionate. And then Rachel leaned in closer. "There's something else," she said. "After you passed out, Elon asked about your hours. I told him what I knew, but then Sophie said something. About your cousin." Ethan stiffened. "I didn't mean to share it," Sophie said quickly. "I just thought, if he knew why you cared so much, maybe he'd—" "It's okay," Ethan said quietly. The weight of everything that had happened began to settle over him like an invisible coat, hot, heavy, and oddly electric. The next morning, Ethan walked into Tesla HQ not as a background engineer, but as the guy who somehow turned a nap into a movement. And everyone knew it. Some nodded respectfully as he passed. Others just whispered. But the vibe had changed. For the first time, people didn't look at each other like competition. They looked like humans. Tired humans. Overworked humans. But united. At 1:45 p.m., Ethan stood outside Elon Musk's office on the executive floor. The elevator ride had felt like going up in altitude too fast. Ears popping, stomach flipping. The receptionist smiled as if she knew the whole story. "Go on in. He's waiting for you." Ethan stepped into the room. It was simple, sleek. No gold-plated robots, just papers, monitors, models of rockets and cars, and a man in a black t-shirt typing intensely. Elon looked up and gestured to the chair across from him. "Glad you're awake this time." Ethan flushed. "Sir, I'm—" "Sit," Elon said, not unkindly. "Let's talk." Ethan sat down, his heart pounding like a bass drum. The silence in the room was thicker than any meeting he'd ever had. "How long have you been with Tesla?" Elon asked casually. 8 months, Ethan replied. "Before that, I worked at a startup focused on industrial vision systems." Elon nodded slowly. "And how many hours did you work last week?" Ethan hesitated. "About 110. Elon raised an eyebrow. "That's not even the high score." "And why?" Ethan answered, quieter now. "Because I needed to. Because I wanted to. Because of what happened to my cousin." "You think you're doing the right thing by giving everything?" "Yes," Ethan said firmly. "I do." Elon leaned back in his chair, then stood. He paced to the window and looked out across the Austin campus. "I used to think that too," he said. "I used to sleep on the floor at the Gigafactory. I used to skip meals for code. I wore burnout like a badge of honor. Ethan said nothing. Elon turned around. But here's what no one talks about. When you're exhausted, you don't innovate. You survive. Barely. He took a breath. I had a friend, one of the best engineers I ever hired, pushed harder than anyone. One day he fell asleep at the wheel, didn't make it home. That was 15 years ago. I never talk about it, but I see the cost now. Ethan blinked. He hadn't expected this. You're not being punished, Elon said. You're being noticed. Then he dropped the bomb. I want you to lead a new internal team, a pilot group. Your mission, help us fix this culture. From the inside, you'll have my full backing. Ethan stared at him, stunned. I'm just an engineer, he finally said. Exactly, Elon replied. That's why this will work. Later that week, a meeting was called, mandatory for all software engineers. Ethan stood beside Elon at the front of the packed room. Elon's voice echoed. I'm the one who pushed for 80-hour weeks, for always-on hustle, for workaholism disguised as purpose. And I was wrong. Gasps, silence. This, Elon said, pointing to Ethan, is your wake-up call, and ours. He outlined the new initiative. Smarter hours, mandatory breaks, recharge rooms, data-driven time management, results over time spent. And Ethan Cole, he added, will be leading it. At first there was only stillness. Then someone clapped. Then another. Until the whole room stood, not for a product launch, not for a new vehicle, but for a human being who reminded them all what it meant to care. And as Ethan stood there, he realized something else. He didn't fall asleep because he was weak. He fell asleep because he refused to let go of something that mattered. But now he was awake, and so was Tesla. What do you think? Was Elon Musk's response genuine, or was it strategic? Type yes if you believe leaders can truly change. Type no if you think it was only optics. We want to know how far this story has traveled, because sometimes the biggest wake-up calls come from the quietest moments. 1 month later, the office looked different, not in its furniture or color schemes, but in the people, in the posture of their backs, in the energy that no longer buzzed like panic, but moved like steady current. People were still working hard. This was Tesla. But now there was oxygen in the room. And it all started with a nap. Ethan Cole walked through the second floor of Tesla's software division, nodding to engineers who, weeks ago, might have just nodded back with exhausted eyes. Now many smiled. Some even stopped to chat. Hey, Ethan, we just tried the new nap room, said Sophie Kim, walking briskly beside him. It's weird, but it actually helps. Like my brain rebooted. That's the idea, Ethan smiled. People aren't machines. They need rest cycles. You're turning this place into a spa, someone joked from a nearby desk. Ethan laughed. A spa that ships autonomous driving code and solar infrastructure. The jokes were getting lighter. The burnout stares, fading. But not everyone was thrilled. Blake Turner, a veteran engineer with a reputation for pulling 100-hour weeks and wearing it like armor, crossed his arms from the doorway of the meeting room. So, Ethan, Blake said, just loud enough for others to hear, we take naps now and call it innovation? Ethan stopped walking. No, he replied. We take breaks so we can innovate longer. Turner didn't respond, but he didn't smirk either. Later that afternoon, Ethan sat in Elon Musk's office again. Only this time, not alone. Rachel Monroe, Jordan Brooks, and 2 new team leads sat across from Elon, surrounded by charts, digital dashboards, and feedback forms from employees across departments. The data's clear, Rachel said. Productivity's up, bug rates are down. Sick days dropped by 27% in the last 30 days. Elon tapped the screen in front of him. I've read it. Now I want you to expand. You mean outside of software? Ethan asked. I mean across Tesla, Elon confirmed. Fremont, Berlin, Shanghai, everyone. Jordan blinked. This wasn't just a pilot? It was, Elon said. Now it's the model. That week, a company-wide message went out, signed by Elon Musk himself. Tesla is re-engineering not just the future of mobility, but the future of work. Ethan's name appeared just under the signature, not as a footnote, as a collaborator. The story exploded. Again. Business blogs ran headlines like Tesla's turn toward humanity and the engineer who changed Elon Musk's mind. Some critics called it performative. Others said it was just smart PR. But inside Tesla, things were changing. Engineers at the Berlin Gigafactory reported that new brake schedules allowed better focus during long testing phases. In Fremont, floor workers rotated shifts more strategically, reducing injuries. HR teams received unprecedented feedback, not about complaints, but gratitude. And yet for Ethan, the strangest moment came one Friday evening when he stopped by his old desk. It had been untouched since the day he fell asleep. Someone had framed the original photo of him, cheek against the keyboard, drool line visible, hair in full collapse. Below it, a handwritten note. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is shut down before you break. He stood there still, remembering the pain, the pressure, the blur of those final 72 hours, the click of that last simulation passing. The second his body had finally refused to keep going. He'd been so afraid that day. And now, he was no longer the guy who passed out from exhaustion. He was the guy who helped Tesla wake up. At the 6-month mark, Elon invited Ethan to join him on stage at the Tesla Global Leadership Summit. Executives, engineers, stakeholders from every corner of the world sat under a single roof. Elon opened the session. "We're here today not because of quarterly numbers or new product launches," he said. "We're here because we're changing how we work, how we live." And one engineer reminded us why it matters. He turned to Ethan. "I didn't change because of data," Elon said. "I changed because I saw someone do everything right and still suffer for it." Then in front of everyone, he told the story of Alex, the young engineer from Elon's early days, the one who pushed too hard, died driving home after 3 sleepless nights. "I never told anyone that story," Elon admitted, "not because I was protecting Alex, but because I wasn't ready to face what I'd built. Until Ethan." The silence in the room was thick, emotional, real. Ethan stepped to the mic. "When I fell asleep at my desk," he said, voice steady, "I thought it would end my career. I thought I'd be a cautionary tale." He paused and then smiled gently. "But it turns out, sometimes the cautionary tale needs a plot twist." Laughter broke out, then applause. He looked across the sea of faces, people from Texas, from Germany, from China, from the UK, all watching. "What we're doing here isn't soft," Ethan said. "It's smart. Rest isn't weakness. It's how you sharpen the blade." He looked at Elon. "And you don't need to agree with every decision I've made. But if one burned-out coder could trigger this shift, imagine what your teams could do if we just gave them space to breathe." The audience rose in standing ovation. Elon clapped the loudest. Later that evening, on the rooftop of the headquarters, Rachel, Jordan, and Ethan stood watching the Austin skyline. "You realize you've just become the face of an entirely new way of working?" Rachel said, sipping her drink. Ethan shook his head. "All I did was fall asleep." "No," Jordan added. "You reminded us that we were already tired. You just did it publicly." A pause, then laughter. The kind of laughter that doesn't come from jokes, but from relief, from knowing things had changed. That night before Ethan went home, he checked his phone. A message had come in from Blake Turner, the same engineer who mocked the NAP initiative. "Hey, got time next week? I've got a few ideas. Maybe we can talk." Ethan smiled. The world hadn't changed overnight, but it had started, and it all began with a single moment of collapse, with a man who wouldn't stop until he finally had to, and in doing so gave everyone else permission to do the same. Now we want to hear from you. Did this story move you? Did it feel personal? Did it feel true? If you felt something, type 3 in the comments. If it didn't land, give us a 1. If it was somewhere in the middle, give us a 2. We'd also love to know, where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments below. Let's see how far this story reaches. And if you believe someone you know needs to hear this, someone burning out in silence, share this story with them. Because maybe, just maybe, they need permission to pause. And maybe you'll be the one who gives it to them. If this story touches something in you, please share it with someone who has been working too hard, too long, and not being seen. Because sometimes the greatest message comes from someone who is sleeping.